Man, this trash is heavy. So, let's talk about DU and what they're doing to combat climate change and trash transportation. All right, so you may be wondering, where am I? And you might also be wondering, why are you filming this at night? Well, to answer those questions, right now, I'm next to the Ritchie Center. Burwell Center's right across from me, and I'm under a solar tree. And the reason I recorded this at night is I want you to see how illuminated campus really is at night. Now, this electricity has to come from somewhere. As we can see, DU has been doing many things in order to reduce their carbon emissions, such as using solar panels. According to an article I found on the DU website, they've been switching light bulbs to LEDs, motion activated sensors, that way lights only turn on when needed, stuff like that. And apparently it's been working. Originally DU wanted to reduce carbon, become carbon neutral by the year 2050, but now we actually have a goal of reducing carbon emissions or reaching carbon neutrality by the year 2030. So according to one of the news articles on the DU website, I learned that 50% of DU's carbon emissions comes from electricity. And the question is, I wonder why. It is currently 1 in the morning and this place is still lit up. I don't see any human activity in there. So obviously it's not all good. Maybe in the dorms they have motion activated sensors, but I think they still have area to improve. All right, so the question of the hour: is the power grid ready to take on climate change? So as said before, renewable sources of energy are a lot better when it comes to reducing carbon emissions, like solar panels. We mentioned that. But is the power grid ready for that? Well, the thing about this is that if people have individual solar panels, they can actively sell power back to the grid if they're not using it. And if there's like a power outage, then they just switch to their own supply. And that works out. There are a few problems with this, however. First of all, we have to think about the fact that renewable energy just isn't as reliable. For example, wind energy. If it's not a windy day, energy's not going to be produced that day. What about solar panels? If there's not enough sun, it's not as much energy production. So we have to find ways to combat that and yet switch to renewable energy. So based on a few academic papers at University of California, Davis, and a university in the UK, they have been studying ways to improve electricity production and decrease carbon emissions. And so far, both have found that you can do that by producing your own electricity, buying from renewable sources, and just changing the buildings to be more energy efficient. Unfortunately, buildings weren't created yesterday. Like this whole school, this was built a while ago, and quite frankly, that's what makes it less energy efficient. We didn't have the technology back then to make it as energy efficient as we can today. So just by making them smart buildings or by changing all this, we can make them more energy efficient. Now, the question is this truly a solution? Well, yes, of course, but the cost, we have to worry about the cost. Sure, purchasing from renewable sources could be a lot cheaper. However, with the technology we have today, unfortunately, it's still too expensive to realistically try to make all the buildings energy efficient. So, as of now, I say we should just try to use less electricity, and that should be our solution.
Recording.
Now, let's talk about another issue. So, you saw me start off the video throwing away some trash. Did you see how big that bin was? Yeah, we're all moving out. We just gotta throw a lot of shit we can't take home. But like, isn't that bad? Did you know? There is a huge island of trash, bigger than the size of Texas, in the Pacific Ocean. That sounds horrible, right? But what are we doing about it? Now, there's one thing. DU does have 3 separate bins. One for trash, landfill, one for recycling, and one for compost. That is one thing I do admire, because that makes it clear. This is compost, this is landfill, and this is recyclable. Now, the question is, transporting all that waste also costs money. But a few studies have found that 50% of waste produced is biodegradable. A lot of it's plastic, and the rest is miscellaneous. Now, a few mathematicians have created formulas that actually help try to find the lowest cost for not only transporting this waste, but also just how much is produced. And I think universities should start using that in order to produce less waste. One more thing though. The thing I love about universities is that they could be role models. When I first thought of college, I was like, wow, like I'm gonna get an education, I'm gonna be smarter, I'm gonna go and do good things in life. Universities should really take advantage in that and really just start teaching people how they could potentially reduce their own carbon footprint. So, I want to end this video off by saying, while I do agree that we should be doing as much as possible to reduce our carbon footprint, we should really think about if that's really a possibility. I mean, as I said, it's just too expensive nowadays, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try your best to be better. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time.